Formulaic is probably a good word for it. I would say it's less formulaic now. And what I mean by that is I like basketball as an analogy. When you're learning any sort of technique, you start with the formula, you start with the template. And like for me, I had those objection, claim, proof, benefit, and I sort of had like my tricks that I would use, my canned lines and stuff like that. But over time, just like like a basketball player, I learned to improvise. So I have sort of like, I understand how to go from point A to point B. I have my formulaic map of my destination, my starting point. And if I'm driving down the road and a tree gets struck by lightning and falls into my path, I have the dexterity now to like drive around it to the left, push the springy jump wheels button and just, launch and vault over that tree. Or, I can shoot my rocket launchers at the tree and blow it up on my way through. Like we had a call today with a client, and it was all supposed to be about a certain group of stocks was supposed to be poised to explode. All right. So this is a bit of a sort of macroeconomic catalyst promo. And talking to them today, we've already been working about a week on the research. Talking to them today, we're like, look, we're really missing a strong catalyst. Like I can't pull one together. And they sort of explained more of their position. And I was like, you know what? That's a system promo. And with all the research that we had, I said, here's how we're going to lay it out. I didn't have to go back to the drawing board and start from scratch and say, this is how I researched system promo. I was on that call capable of saying, like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to move this part, where we talk about this, we're going to move that here. We're going to demonstrate 3 times here. We're not going to include any of the force of nature details in this section. Then we're going to lean into it just a little bit and say we have a trigger that we follow. Before we get into what the trigger actually is, I'm going to introduce the guru. We're going to explain exactly why he's the expert of the day and how he got to this point in his career where he has this trigger. But first, we want to tell you exactly why everyone else keeps failing at this is because they're not actually using this trigger. Most folks have no clue it exists, so they accidentally erroneously trade wrong. Okay, so the problem is you're doing that. So we're going to show a couple examples right then and there saying like, look, here's examples of like flukes that didn't have it, that trigger, and you think they're going to go up and they don't, they collapse. And then at the same time, these unassuming sorts of examples soared to the moon. Okay. And now we're going to introduce the fact that there's never been a greater time to use this sort of trigger than today. And that's where instead, because we had a weak catalyst section, we can just say the opportunities are exploding. There's more of them. They're more prolific. So all of that, that's sort of like I just planned, I'd say about 55%, 60% sales letter, right? And that's just because I understand the sorts of pieces I need to prove. When I sit down to fill in those blanks, I do have enough raw materials and resources. If I could summarize it for you, there is a template, but I'm far more agile in my execution of the plan, if that makes sense. Like if we're going, Black Hawk down, I have all sorts of like in case of emergency sort of maneuvers that I can make that used to be just like trying to fit this thing in this template before. The outline I just said could be used for any financial promo. So that's another important thing. Like I didn't like come up with my own sequence. As a matter of fact, when I see my writers stepping out of sequence, I give them one of those. Give them a little hand slap. Don't do that. I can tell this when I see the guru being introduced on page 21. What the f is the guru doing being introduced on page 21? What promo waits this far to introduce the person that's been talking this whole time, right? So there are things like that that are not really like my secret sauce. It's the patterns that I recognize, and something else I'm meticulous about. I'm a stickler for it. I don't review promos if I can help it that made less than at least $1 million, so that I'm not picking up bad habits from other crappier promos. I'm not picking up bad execution. And so I've found that just reviewing all the hits, they all have the same format. There's usually 2. There's like a system format, and then there's like a macroeconomic format. And That's like a front end, back end sort of thing. System format is when the trigger when the light flashes green, you get paid. There's got to be some sort of weird element to that. What makes it flash green? That's the unique thing. Macroeconomic thing is there's a mega trend that's making people very rich right now, and you don't know about it. So what's this big mega trend? Well, it's bigger than anything you've ever heard of. Well, what is it? Well, there's a cataclysmic sort of tidal wave caused by a single event that's actually about to unleash this hellstorm. Well, what is it? Look, I've been doing this for 25 years. All right. I've already called all these other hellstorms, and I have actually an amazing team behind me full of like NASA, astronaut scientists, and we've all found one thing in common. We all went to our own corners of the globe, lived in huts and moss, and we lived in caves and monk huts, and we all determined the same thing: hellstorm's coming. So what is it? Look, for the last 15 years straight, this is what all the hellstorms had in common. So you see, it's the same shit. It's like the same shit. You'll see me if you watch the breakdown. Sometimes I just get like flustered with how bored I am. Like, it's the same shit, guys. It's always the same shit. So that's part of pattern. Okay, you said something like it takes months or years. It takes neither. It's not a factor of how much time. It's a factor of how many reps, which is why I incentivize my team based on how many reps they execute. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the game. There's plenty of veterans who write shit copy 30 years into it. All right. So it's a matter of how many reps. And then the quality, Tiger Woods and all these people talk about deliberate practice. It's a measure of how many reps and the quality and repetition of your deliberate practice. Those are the factors that determine how quickly you become successful and how successful you become.
What's up, Copy Squad? I hope you found that useful, and if you'd like to actually join our private conversations in full and get some of this actionable advice for your copy or business, I invite you to check out copysquad.net/join. Here you can sign up for our highest, most exclusive level group, the Copy Squad Inner Circle. Every week we alternate between two types of live meetings to keep our conversation fresh around copy and continually grow our skills together. So one week we take member submissions and questions and we go over user copy, and then the next week we'll do sales letter breakdowns of top tier 7- and 8-figure sales letters by some of the best copywriters and businesses in the game. So that rotates every week. One week we take submissions, the next week we do a sales letter breakdown. These calls are attended by myself, my current writing team, and even some of my previous writers are also regulars on these calls. So there's top tier talent attending all of these calls. We also have a brand new Slack channel for members to share ideas, their copy, experiences, insights, and keep up with our program announcements. So all you got to do is go to this page, copysquad.net/join. Choose whether you want a yearly or monthly membership, and then you can have access to one of the highest performing, most elite copy groups on the planet. Thanks so much for tuning in, and peace out, Copy Squad.